What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Strung Out. And we're back with another tune from Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues, taken from the Volume 1 compilation. Big shout out to Paulie once again. And the next track is called Somnambulance. I talked about this when I finished the reaction to Radio Suicide. And again, big shout out to Paulie commenting on the lyrics on that one. But yeah, I mentioned somnambulance is an interesting term, or portmanteau technically, because ambulation, different types of walking, somnambulation, sleepwalking, and an ambulance is like a mobile, medical or something that like takes care of people. So there's an interesting combination of sleeping, walking, and mobile like therapy or medical treatment. So I feel like somewhere in between concepts of sleeping, dreaming, trying to keep moving. I feel like there's a number of different ways you can take this, but I enjoy the creativity of the portmanteau. So let's find out what it is. This is Strung Out, Somnambulance from the 1996 album Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues. I like the intro. Musically, that was fantastic. I love that intro. It's a very dramatic song. A lot of the guitar chords had that heavy, powerful feel to them. Again, the drumming, especially in a couple of the sections, it's like really, it's like perfectly rhythmic, and yet it's like outside the like typical like drumming you might get in the sections in question. And again, I did want to mention, when I do these reactions, especially like punk rock, where, you often get vocals and lyrics coming at you very quickly. And so, usually when I listen to like, a Propaganda record or whatever for the first time, it takes me a few times through to pick up on what it is. So, oftentimes after a first time reaction, I'm not going to catch most of what's there. But what I did hear does sound like it's someone who's trying to deal with, their sanctuaries, their dreams, like the place where they can go and just kind of hide away from the painful, like harsh or like hard realities. But if you can't sleep, well, then you can't get there. So in some sense, it felt like there's a disconnect between like this haven that he'd like to have, but again, if you're an insomniac and you're counting the hours and like every second that you're awake, you feel like more and more desperate, you feel more and more isolated. And I feel like there was sort of that sense that like the emptiness or something was growing with each hour. But then I don't know that like maybe it's the idea that you still like even though you become this kind of like walking zombie, in that regard, like you still have to do things, so you still have to like go through your life. So there's some parts that I'm not getting, but it definitely was dealing with sleep, and being awake and the being in insomnia, which this hasn't been the case for a long time, but when I was a teenager, I legit dealt with insomnia, and I like, that Fight Club thing where like, oh, you're never really awake, you're never really asleep. That's really on point because you just get to this point where like, I don't know, maybe I slept for like half an hour. I think like there was a part where I was thinking, and I think I thought my way into a bit of a half sleep, but maybe my eyes were open. And it's like, it really gets confusing, and you really get this like, yeah, I don't even know like what real sleep is. So it's been a long time, but I do kind of know that gray area where it's like I'm not even sure, like, did I sleep? So it feels like maybe there was that kind of tension there, but there was definitely more to it. So I look forward to Paulie and any others commenting. But yeah, musically, really fantastic. That short little, guitar solo bit was really good. There's like a couple moments where it was giving me like, yeah, I listened to some like Iron Maiden, some metal groups where I comment like Castlevania vibes, like where the guitar work has this like really dramatic feel and it's kind of reminding me of Castlevania. It's like an old school game series. There was a couple moments, including that little solo moment, where the guitars had like that level of drama. So really like this one musically. Getting close to the end of the album. Let me see how many more we got left. So yeah, we have 4 more left. 6 Feet, Speedball, Wrong Side of the Tracks, and Jacqueline, which, Speedball, Wrong Side of the Tracks, and 6 Feet are all interesting song titles that suggest some heavy and or dark matters. But again, once we finish that, we'll be on to Twisted by Design, which will be really interesting because it's an album I do know, maybe a few tunes more than most of the rest of the record. But it's a record that I've had for a long time. Where is it? Right there. So it'll be weird to now come back to it, having heard, not the skinny years before they got fat, but having heard 2 albums prior to this, which at the time I didn't. I just got that album because I had heard Too Close to See from a friend of mine. It was like, oh man, that's like a really good tune. I gotta get that album. So like I said, it'll be cool to go through the rest of this, but then especially to get back to Twisted by Design and see how that fits with the way I remember it, and maybe I'll have more appreciation for what it is, given having now experienced more Strung Out. So I'll stop rambling, but once again, shout out to Paulie, and shout out to Strung Out, shout out to Fat Records for the compilation. I am very happy to have this, and like I said, we'll go through all the Skinny Years stuff once we get through Twisted by Design. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Peace.